Holy living crap. I turn 29 in T-minus 2 days. Truthfully, a lot of people on the internet think I'm already in my 30s, which I'm making the decision to take as a compliment because I actually see it. I do think I carry myself in a very mature, womanly way, but truly it could not be because I look old. My skincare routine goes crazy. I just think I have a very confident energy, and oftentimes confidence translates to been there, done that. Also, hi, welcome back to my channel. It has been a friggin' minute since I have just posted a plain old-fashioned YouTube video. I've been going ham on the podcast. I've been going ham with my writing career, so I've just taken a bit of a break, but I miss chatting, and as much as I chit-chat literally incessantly on my podcast, YouTube is just a different vibe. YouTube just feels like FaceTime. This has honestly been one of the most mentally challenging, probably ever. I would say top 5 hardest years, that's for sure. Without giving you too much, I had a major career change that was super exciting, but all change is pretty scary. I went through not 1, but 2 breakups. And I know you might be thinking, Emily, how is that possible? You were just so damn lovable. How did that happen? Here's the thing. Had some lessons I had to learn. The universe really said, we need you to date 2 people who are wrong for you so that you can learn these lessons. That's how I'm framing it in my mind. I personally don't see being single as a bad thing. I see it as a badge of honor. I've made the very conscious decision to meet other people and then still choose myself and choose my peace over trying to become someone that I'm not for someone I shouldn't be with. But you don't get flowers without rain. I believe this was a year of rain, and don't get it twisted. I actually had a really positive, really fantastic year, but it was wrapped up in some very difficult personal lessons. The lesson that I think year 28 taught me was to release control. I spent so much of year 28 trying to make things around me perfect, trying to make the man in front of me my husband. Guess what? All that does is prolong a relationship until one day you wake up and realize I can't change the man, I should just change men. Tried to do everything, be everything, control the world around me so that my life would be quote unquote perfect, so that I could have everything that I wanted by the ripe age of 29. Because in my head, at the age of 16, I was meant to be married with kids, effective about a week ago, Guess that got lost in the mail. I was supposed to own a big house. Maybe 16-year-old me wasn't aware of the cost of living in Toronto. I don't know. In my head, I've accomplished so much, and I'm so proud of the life that I live. And I really think I'm remarkable at so much. I really do. But there were still things on my wish list I didn't get. And the lesson of this year, and I hope the lesson you take from this video, is not me buffering to say the fucking lesson. There is not one thing in my life that has been meant for me that has missed me. And on that note, one of the first major lessons that I learned this year is that I cannot read minds. Shocker. It's a bad use of energy to try and decode what other people are thinking, let alone what they're thinking about you. Really internalizing that other people's perception of you is none of your business will relieve so much anxiety, concern, and stress. Give people the opportunity to tell you that they have a problem with you. Because effective this year, if you don't tell me we have a problem, then there is no problem. And it's not playing stupid, it's not being manipulative, it's realizing I can't assume other people's feelings for them, and I can't force people to communicate with me. I also cannot spend all of my precious energy and create anxiety wondering why that person hasn't texted me back, wondering why that friend didn't invite me somewhere. That's not a good use of my time, and I need to stop pretending that I can control how other people see me. You can tell the first part of this list is very friendship and relationship heavy. I had a lot of revelations, I would say, around my friendships this year, but this one's kind of crazy. I'm kind of scared to say it. Very few people are irreplaceable. There are some friends that you think are going to be in your life forever, and you will one day wake up and look at that friendship and say, you don't treat me with love and respect. You don't prioritize me. I've articulated my needs to you and they continue to get neglected. So I need to create a boundary. I need to create distance. But we're so scared to let go of friendships that feel familiar because we're scared there's nothing but loneliness waiting on the other side. What if I told you that when you release that relationship that isn't serving you, you energetically invite more things into your life? That might sound like some hippie shit, but just stay with me. This is coming from someone who has a very logical business-backed mind. When I broke up with a particular group of friends, straight up was I can't have you in my life anymore. Within months, I met amazing women. amazing. At work, at events, traveling, I have a whole new group of girlfriends right now in addition to the friends that I have maintained, and I feel so much more fulfilled. Choosing you is never going to leave you lonely. Because I would rather be by myself and treat myself well than go out with a friend who makes me feel invisible. Go out with a friend who asks nothing about my life. Go out with a friend who only likes to see me do well when it's not doing better than them. That's not friendship, that's competition. Stress will actually ruin your body. And I'm not being dramatic when I say that. I released a podcast episode about this because there's a statistic that I think is terrifying. It's 120,000 deaths globally every year are directly tied back to workplace stress alone. That's just what's documented. Our bodies chemically change when we are stressed. We suffer from insomnia, indigestion, heart issues, high cholesterol. You're at a higher risk for migraine, headache, stroke. Like there's a list that can go on and on. I'll actually link that podcast episode in the bio if you're interested in listening to that. But I felt that as well. I'm sounding like I had a very negative year. I actually didn't. I just am the kind of person to very much pay attention to lessons and harness those so that I can level up every single year. For me, that's what self-development is. It's paying attention to where I can do better and committing to actually doing that. There was probably a 6-month stretch last year. Actually, I say last year, it was April, where I was working, I'm not even kidding you, probably 12 to 15 hours a day. I was sick all the time. I was getting tonsillitis. I got tonsillitis 4 times over the course of, I think, 5 months. That's insane. I was so sick. I was like losing weight and then gaining weight. Like everything was all over the place. And I thought genuinely I was sick. I was like, oh my God, I have a disease. I have to go talk to a doctor. I got tested for an autoimmune disease. Do you want to know what it was? Stress. The second I adjusted my working schedule, you think knock on wood, let's hope that doesn't come back. You think I've had any of those issues again? Another very valuable lesson is that just because something has been that way for a long time doesn't mean it should have been. This applies to relationships, but for me in particular, it applied to my relationship with health and exercise. I'm someone who really enjoys working out. I love to exercise. I love to fuel my body. I really loved falling off that wagon. Oh girl, I fell off that wagon like extremely hardcore. Yeah, very hardcore lately. I was just so swept up in work. It all goes back to like the stress management thing, but the first thing I deprioritized was my exercise. And then when I got back into working out, I was like, okay, typically I love lifting weights. That's what I'm gonna go do. And I was forcing myself to go to the gym lifting weights and I wasn't having fun at all. And I know for some people exercise is never fun. For me it is. And I was like, oh, I hate this, but this is what I've always done. I need to get back into it. But that made me not want to go to the gym. And then I wasn't exercising and I was back in the same slump. And it was like months of the same cycle until I realized just because things have always been one way doesn't mean they have to be forever. Things you like aren't a fixed part of your personality. So I was like, okay, historically I've hated classes, but let me go do some classes. Started Pilates and I love it. I'm having so much fun. And guess what? I have permission to change my mind should that no longer be the case. Which leads me to, and I'm gonna read this verbatim. Repeating the same habits is a choice. And I had to analyze the habits I was choosing this year. The big difference, in my opinion, from me being 27 to me being 28 has been accountability. When I was 27, a lot of the life lessons I was learning was about like motivation, dedication, pushing through, being really strong, being really resilient. 27, I think the theme for me was resilience. I think 28 for me was more about micro habits and being extremely aware of what positions was I putting myself in such that I had to be resilient. I was overworking myself. Great, and I was able to be resilient and overcome that, but why was I in that position? I was able to move on from a breakup, great, but why was I in another breakup? I was able to detach myself from that friend, great, but why was I actually engaging with a person like that in the first place? So my new favorite revelation is that time isn't real. Not necessarily time, but I think the timelines that we place on our lives. Comparison truly is the thief of joy. I know that everybody says that, but damn, they're all talking about it for a very good reason. Unfollowing people on social media has been my 28 years hobby. It's been my favorite habit because if you are the kind of person posting about a body I'm never gonna have, a stage of life that I'm not in, career aspirations that don't motivate me, but they make me feel like I'm behind in my life, whether that's my own internalized issues or theirs, it's too much and it's unfortunately just not worth it. If we're keeping it real, I also talked about this in my podcast not that long ago, but the timelines that were forced on us in terms of career, relationship, all of these things were built and constructed in a very, very different period of life. Women had to get married very young, otherwise we couldn't own property. We could barely vote. We had to have careers early, otherwise you would either be shipped off to war or you would bring shame to your family. We live in a very different world. We don't need to have it all figured out by 21 anymore, but because that's how our parents were raised, because that's how their parents were raised, we've internalized all of this anxiety and it's got nowhere to go. But the timelines that you are forcing yourself into are holding you back. Saying no risk, no reward only works if you don't see failure as a loss. I'm actually really proud of myself. I got rejected from a lot this year. There's a lot that I did get and I'm very grateful for that, but there's a lot I wanted that I didn't get in my career this year. And that's okay because I personally have made the active decision not to look at failure or rejection as a loss. I firmly believe when I don't get certain things in my life, it's because something better is coming and it had to make space. I see people do this all the time where they quit their job to start a business or they're applying for jobs and they're looking for all of this big life change, but they still have the mindset that failure is a loss, not a redirection, that it is rejection, not redirection. That isn't a healthy way to catapult into a phase of change in your life. That's how you end up in an unhealthy mental spiral. Honestly, I feel unbelievably grateful for another trip around the sun. I don't see my looming 30s as something that's scary. I'd be lying if I said there wasn't a part of me that's like a little bit nervous and kind of mourning the loss of my 20s. But I have lived such an unapologetically fun and me life. I've been so open to growing. I've been so open to being a better person. And every single year I have learned major lessons. And I think that's what growth is. Being an adult is really reflecting every year. And that's what I like to do on my birthday and just figure out what did I do well? What could I do better? And for some reason I choose to share it on the internet. Yeah, wish me a happy birthday quickly. Subscribe. Thanks for hanging out with me. And if you are in the US, don't forget to register to vote. I am Canadian, otherwise I would be voting, but it's so important. Your vote matters, your voice matters. Democracy is a gift, so please continue to contribute to that. And I will talk to y'all soonsies. Okay, bye.